Let's see, I think it's Senator Carozzo.
I think she was. Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Kirwan and members of the commission, I too want to share my deep respect for the work that you have done and also acknowledge all of the extensive and hard work that's gone into this point. You all know me well enough by now that I tend to be a policy person, so I want to understand what we're into here. So I did go back and I looked at the charge of the commission, and in the interim report, looking at the two comprehensive charges, one to review and recommend any needed changes to update the current education funding formulas, and the other one was to make policy recommendations that would enable Maryland's pre-K through 12 system to perform at the level of the best performing systems in the world. I have to tell you how very impressed and how supportive I am of these recommendations. This is hard work. They are comprehensive and they're extensive in the areas where we do need to make the progress to get to the level that we all share. In the area of early childhood, in the area of retaining and attracting high quality teachers, diverse teachers, college and career readiness, which is music to my ears, targeting more of our resources to concentrations of poverty, and the accountability piece that we know we have to have in order for this to be a success. It was for that reason that earlier this year that I voted for SB 1030, the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. I voted for that because I believe in these recommendations. I also voted for it because it was paid for. Since then, I looked at the other part of the charge that this commission had, and it's to come up with the education funding formulas to make the recommendations work. And in all due respect, I know less time of the 3-year period was spent on that part of it. It's a hard part of it. We've already acknowledged that Maryland has the most complex education funding formulas in the country. And so here we have these recommendations that we agree upon, but then we're trying to figure out, how do we pay for this? What is the affordability issue? How do we do this working with our local partners, our local jurisdictions? And so for me, following Kirwan, even before I was a member, coming up and attending the overall commission meetings and then attending the funding work group meetings, even though I was not a member of that, really trying to understand how all these pieces could come together. And my biggest concern, and it is the reason that I will be voting no today, is the overall affordability, and also the fact that these local jurisdictions, I'm in the schools, I was in 3 schools yesterday, talking to superintendents, principals, teachers, our county elected officials, really trying to say, if you believe in these recommendations, how do we make this work? And they absolutely need the flexibility to do this. They need the flexibility, and we need to factor in affordability. We've talked about prioritization of the recommendations. You know, we haven't done that to the extent that I can support. I will continue to support all efforts on accountability. And there's one last issue that I brought up, and I'm going to bring it up again today because we just had a situation in Parkside High School in Wycomico County where 3 teachers went to the hospital because of student fights. And I think part of our work when we talk about policy recommendations, we have to also talk about classroom management and school environment. And we have to have some of these hard conversations that if we have certain state policies that are limiting our locals, teachers, our school personnel, or if there's an issue about the interpretation of those policies, I think we have to take a hard look at that. And the reason I bring that up is because it's directly tied to student performance. When a teacher has to divert his or her attention to deal with a unsafe and possibly violent situation in the classroom, not only are we talking about the safety of the students and teachers in that situation, we're also talking about how it affects the rest of those students, and not just when the incident happens. I talked to the students and the teachers afterwards. This affects them after that incident and going forward. So I bring this all up because, again, I was proud to cast my vote earlier this year for voting for the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. I support these recommendations. I want to work with you, and as a member of the Maryland Senate and as a member of the Committee of Jurisdiction, I look forward to working with you. I'm assuming that several of the Kirwan Commission members will stay engaged, and working with my colleagues on how we can work with the locals and see how we can move forward so we can reach our shared goal, which is making sure our students are at the level in a world-class education system. I appreciate that you allowed me to share this background, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing to work with you on our shared passion.
Thank you, Senator.